So we'll go back here. Hi, we are Heart Center Tech Summit. My name is Jude Bellinger. I am the founder of Heart Center Tech, and today we have Ted Ross from CIO of City of LA and also Lise LePointe from Terranova Security to launch National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And so I think this is going to be an excellent conversation. Hi, Lise. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. And we've got Ted Ross, CIO of City of LA, both heart-centered tech leaders. I'd like to congratulate you, Lise, with getting your Heart-Centered Tech Leadership Award and nominated through Barbara Bickham. I believe you know her, Ted, as well. Barbara Bickham, she nominated Lise for Heart-Centered Tech Leadership Award.
Yes.
She was at the Staples blockchain event when you guys were there. And cool person, and did a great nomination. And we can move into why Lise did amazing with her cybersecurity software and her heart-centeredness when it comes to education on cybersecurity, and the perfect person to talk today on National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And her not only free kits for education, but with decades of experience, she has taken all that human training and put it into an incredible software program that does in-house simulated phishing and different things. And Ted, you're more than welcome to talk all about that with her and see what we can do to flesh out this amazing technology that she has. So take it away, Ted.
Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon or good evening to you, Lise, depending on where you are today. And if you could just take a second just to describe for the audience, describe your experience, describe what has brought you to Terranova, and just kind of a little more background.
Okay. So I've been in IT for a long, long time. And I've always been in business. This is my second business. Before I had more like Microsoft, IBM, classroom type of company. And in 2001, I moved to online. So and funding Terranova. So I'm the funder, and it's going to be 20 years next year. And through those years, a lot of things changed, right? So we've been developing our own platforms to be able to be flexible to our clients that need specific things, specific reports or specific functionalities. And we've built a complete platform with content that drives change in behaviors. And this is very important to me because it's not just putting a video or a course online. It's really about changing behaviors, teaching people how to recognize a threat, knowing what the consequences are and what to do. And this is like ongoing because the threat landscape changes all the time. So we wrote a book also. I say we because it's my team. It's not just me, even though my name is on it. It's a complete framework that explains how to build a security awareness program with multiple things in it and steps to do. But there's a lot of things to consider when you build this program. And the first thing is really having good objectives and KPIs to measure, to be able to see, is there a change in behavior or not? So this has been my passion for many years now, and we're trying all the time to get better at it and make it interesting for our employees and users to learn.
First of all, congratulations on 20 years. You know, when I think back to around 2001, I think about an era where many people were still making the transition from dial-up to DSL. An ultra high-speed connection would be something like a T1 line. And yet there were still substantial cyber threats then, but it feels like there's way more cyber threats now. You see in the news today, you see data breaches, you see ransomware. We're always hearing about cyber threats. Is it as bad Bad as they say.
Yes, I would say it is that, as they say, because if we look at the statistics, it says that 94% of malware is delivered via phishing email. So that's a lot. Excuse me. 80% of reported security incidents come from phishing attacks also. And we could count $17,000. Sorry, $17,000 lost every minute due to the phishing attacks. Dude, I'll have to get what? I'm sorry.
Connection keeps.
No problem. Here I am. How's the connection now?
Good. You're back. Excellent. Yeah, kind of strange connection, but good, you're back. Lise went to get a drink of water. So
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Any second now.
I don't know. Talking too much makes me cough, I suppose.
Did you switch to your phone, Ed?
Yeah, I switched to a different device. I wasn't
Oh.
sure if it was at all the cause of it. So how's the video?
Yep, it's working. Looking good. We're looking good on Facebook too. So
Great.
all good. As soon as Lise is back, we can pick it up where we left off.
Well, if there's anything about 2020, it's about being adaptable, right?
Exactly. Very good. Plus, we get to see that nice tie you have on. It's very nice. I haven't really seen that today.
Perfect. Yeah, it doesn't show in the other video.
Excellent. Okay. Great.
Shall
Why
we
don't we
pick it
pick
back
it up, Ed, and pick it up, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. So Lise, from data breaches to ransomware, we're always hearing about cyber threats in the news. As a CIO, I know I get my briefings. Is it as bad as they say?
I would say yes, because since everybody went home to work with the COVID, there's been quite an increase, and we could say that 94% of malware is delivered via phishing emails, and 80% of reported security incidents come from phishing attacks. So that's a lot, and $17,000 is lost every minute due to phishing attacks. So even with all the technology in place, it's really important that the employees are being trained. So a large part of that is due to the human factor.
Sure. And so, when we think of phishing, it's certainly a conversation that's not new to anybody, whether it's ransomware payloads or other malware. It's been a conversation for years, but how is 2020? So you mentioned remote work as an item that certainly has exacerbated it. 2020 just seems to be having all sorts of fun things. So protests, COVID, the election, remote work, is this something that organizations should be even more mindful today?
Yes, and since the start of the pandemic, we transitioned a lot to remote workforce, and that accelerated digital transformation and increased the complexity and the cyber threat risk level. So based on certain studies, they say that 20% of organizations face a security breach as a result of remote workers. So it is important. Employees don't always get the proper training related to the best cybersecurity practices when working from home. And the same study, they would say that 44% of respondents' organizations did not provide training that focused on work from home. So this is one of the reasons why we did those kits, because we wanted to make it we think it's part of our responsibility to make sure that everybody, not just our clients, are aware of this threat and know what to do. So we have done, our marketing department has done incredible things to make sure that all those best practices were available for everybody. So it's a lot, 44% of people that did not train their users. And they say also that 55% of the biggest problem was 55% of those that were surveyed said that their biggest problem was training people. So at the same time, it's, they know it, but they don't always have the tools to do it. It came quite suddenly also. Like I have clients that have 200,000 employees that went home from one day to another. So it's quite challenging for IT.
That's right. You know, when I think of COVID-19, I know a lot of organizations, you know, there's some organizations that remote work is a part of their DNA, but there's many organizations, you know, I work in government, and government is certainly up there at the top. There's many organizations that had very little remote work pre-COVID. And so as you mentioned, to go from this highly accelerated move post-COVID to where everyone has to do their work by and large remotely, it seems that it creates maybe chinks in the armor. It creates weaknesses. So where all sorts of employees were used to being behind the firewall and having various tools available, that they now have to accomplish this from home. And I guess when there's chinks in the armor, you can say that cyber threats then become that much more prevalent. Does that sound correct?
Yes, definitely. And on another point that you were asking about is that it's funny because I was talking to someone that sees a lot of those threats going by, a lot of those phishing emails. And she was telling me this morning that regarding the election, there's a lot of threats going on, a lot of scams with the phishing, people receiving emails saying your ballot wasn't counted and ask for personal information, or emails regarding election tampering, or telling people that there's an error, couldn't count your vote, please put in your information. So please don't do that. And population needs to know to be very, very careful these days, because it's out there. It's been with the COVID and now it's with the election, and there's always something. Yes.
Absolutely. We often think of cybersecurity as tools or appliances, some kind of piece of hardware or software. But why is it important to secure the human?
Oh, because the humans are not computers. They cannot be programmed. So it's very important. And us as humans, we need to understand why things happen and how to identify them, how to detect them. We have to be part of the solution, because technology and processes are already there for many years, and they know that the weak part is more the human. So a lot of the attacks come from the phishing, from the email that reaches the human. So it's very important to train the people on and give them knowledge and skills to avoid falling victim of malicious tactics. They need to protect themselves and protect the data.
You know, sometimes when you go to a conference, they have the expression where they say that the human is the weak link in the security chain. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
We don't like saying that. We usually say we want to have a strong link, and that's what we do by changing behaviors. So at Terranova, we have cyber heroes. So it's more positive.
Fair enough.
Is it okay if I take a couple seconds just to show a slide and explain how we do that? Maybe it could help. Do just a little training.
Sure.
So do you see it?
Sure, I see nano and micro learning.
Okay, because I don't see the complete slide. Do you?
Working on it on the tech side.
Okay. So if I just explain the concept, and when you'll see it, you'll understand. So the concept is that we have identified, because I don't see the full screen. We have identified 7 phishing threats. And for those 7 phishing threats, there's 7 behaviors that have to be or changed or learned. And for each behavior, there's examples of templates. What we call templates is like you receive a phishing email from Microsoft, for example, asking you to give some information. So this is a phishing email. And so this is a template. And we reproduce this email from Microsoft to teach the users how to recognize them. So this is what you should have seen. So for every threat, and there's a behavior, and for every behavior, there's a template that goes with it. And if you click on the link, for example, one of the behaviors is not clicking on the link. If you click on the link, then you'll get training. And when you get training, there could be in different formats. The training could be like a module explaining general phishing. It could be also a micro learning specific on ransomware, for example, or a nano learning that will tell you exactly in a very small chunk what you should have seen and what you should do. So this is by repeating this on continuous basis, people learn. And they learn to, because the attackers, they get very sophisticated and they're sometimes very difficult to see that they're phishing. And we have to train more and more the users to see different levels of difficulties in the phishing. So having templates that are easier and more difficult in the training is very important. And this is always linked to a module to train the person on what they should have seen, what are the consequences, and what they should be doing. So
yeah, I think, yeah, I was going to say, I think you raise a very good point. It's not like there's one threat. So, you know, often our mind may jump to one specific thing, but there's multiple kinds of threats and they all have multiple types of levels of sophistication. So I think to your point, if you have a training curriculum for people in which you're testing them across a myriad of potential threats, and then if they quote unquote fail, I know fail is a strong term, but if they fail the test, then they can get the very specific training, because they may be, you know, very suspicious in regards to maybe your kind of generic, your generic cyber threat, your Nigerian prince, send me some money type of email, but they may be very bad at the, you left a package outside, or to your point in regards to your mail-in ballot, you know, had an issue, click here. And I think that's the reality is people are human. And so the reality is that they may not always be so good at one thing versus the other. So I guess any training approach has to help kind of hit the different nuances, right?
Exactly, yes. And to highlight that, in Security Awareness Month, what we do is we do a phishing simulation. Like it's public. It's our tournament, and the tournament is done with Microsoft. And Microsoft provides a template that is seen a lot, what they see coming in, you know, and it's a worldwide template. So what we do is we reproduce that template and we phish all the companies with all the employees that want to be phished at the same time. So by doing it at the same time on the same template, then we could provide a report and they could know, okay, for my company, what does the picture look like, but also compare to other companies like me, small business, medium, large businesses, different places in the world, different geo and different verticals. So they could compare themselves and have information that is accurate, because you cannot compare on different, if it's done in a different time and if it's done in a different, you know, on a different template. So having all of this in the same one, everybody receives the same thing at the same time, you could really compare results. So this is very interesting and it brings information. We do that in a report that you could get on our website probably end of November, and to provide information to companies of where they feel they're at compared to the others.
Yes, at the City of Los Angeles, cybersecurity is kind of a passion of ours. We feel very, very responsible for the fact that if we're entrusted with our residents' digital assets, it's extremely important to protect and safeguard them. Yeah. And yet I found that is when we did phishing simulations and phishing exercises, it created the most buzz around City Hall. I was literally in an elevator with, you know, a fire chief and other managers basically asking me about the fake emails, the quote unquote fake emails that we were sending out. It created a sense of competition. It created a sense of almost like, in a good way, trickery. Are you trying to trick me, Ted? You won't get me this time. And these other types of things. What is it about things like this type of training and phishing simulations that really brings out, I would say, almost the best in people?
Yes, because in the report that we've done last year for the same competition, it was clear that doing training alone wasn't sufficient, doing phishing alone wasn't sufficient, but bringing both together was the best result in changing behaviors, because you measure, you test, and then you train, and then you test, and then you train. So you repeat the message multiple times, and people get it, in different levels.
And the way you described it, if human beings through something like, let's say, phishing, are such a high percentage when it comes to the likelihood of a data breach or someone delivering malware and a payload into your organization, why is it so hard? And the importance of securing the human is key. Just based on your experience, why is it so hard to secure the human?
Because there's always a percentage of people that, they don't follow the rules, of course. But so this is why more and more companies like ours, or that will provide like security IQ, for example, saying this person, looking at, okay, the training they've done, the number of phishing, we call them happy clickers, people that continue to click, happy clickers, and maybe from other statistics also, who in the organization is a risk. And for them, we provide a lot more training. So usually there's always a population that, you send this, they will do it right away, they'll do their training, they'll follow the rules. There's another, percentage that you have to remind and you have to push a little bit more, but you need to provide also training that is interesting. If it's something that's not interesting, they won't follow it. So you have to repeat, and you have also to send reminders to do it in a certain length of time, but you always have a percentage of people that don't follow. So you need to know who these people are to be able maybe to be more vigilant.
I assume it's even more complicated because almost all our organizations are multi-generational, right? We've got a mixture of digital immigrants, digital natives, et cetera.
And what we do for that is that we provide training in 40 languages, because we consider that it is very important to learn in your native language. To be sure that, you have no excuse to say that you didn't understand. So native language, also we narrate everything. So it makes it more interesting than just reading something on the screen. So everything is narrated. And also the way is to provide a lot of different type of training. And this makes it, of course, more difficult for us, but some people like videos, like young generation, they like videos, they like interactive. Other people like to read. There's not a lot of them left, but still. And so you need to provide different type of content.
I remember reading that you were a teacher earlier in your life. How is that experience related to the work that you're doing at Terranova?
Yeah, that's been a long, long time, but it's always been in me, I like this part because I've always find it positive to train people, to make people learn, to explain things. I think it's a positive thing, and the world needs it. So it's been something, and putting IT and security and training together for me has been something of interest. And I need to have a topic that changes. I don't like to repeat the same thing. So cybersecurity is the right one for me.
Often when we think of cybersecurity, we think of what often becomes what feels like a very negative conversation. We talk about cyber criminals. We talk about expanding cyber threats. But from your perspective, an organization can become secure. How would you describe a modern secure organization? What does that look like?
I think it needs to be a human-centric culture, of course, because the people in our organization are the ones that makes us succeed, right? So they need to have practical, immersive security awareness training. We need to develop a comprehensive security awareness program that integrates, like I was saying before, phishing, awareness campaign, multiple type of training, multiple type of communication tools, and also provide them with something that what's in it for them. So their family. I always say that, if we're like the adult in the family, we have children, we have grandparents. It's a little bit of a responsibility also to train because they are involved in this cybersecurity world a lot more than before with their phones. And I would say that the grandparents are called a lot by for scams on the phone. So we need to provide this training to our families also. So it expands from just the employee. Also, I think that it's having clear objectives, and any other program or project has objectives and KPIs. And in security awareness, a lot of times that doesn't exist. So it's very important if you want to create a human-centric culture to be able to measure what you're doing. And it's important also to identify, like I was saying, the employees that could put your company at risk. So for me, the modern enterprise is an enterprise that, that people work from home, work for the office, everything has to be secured. And employees have to be able to recognize the threats.
Every so often I get asked, maybe by an elected official or by a constituent, where they ask us that fundamental question. I'd love to hear your answer. Can an organization ever be fully secure?
No. It's a battle between the ones that want to get the information and the ones that want to protect that information. So it's very difficult. We're never 100% secure, that's for sure. The best we can do is make sure that, we report what we see immediately. So there's buttons in the phishing, there's a button in the Outlook, there's a button in most organizations that you could report the phishing that you see. So this gives the organization maybe time to see a phishing before everybody gets it and time to react. So it is, so this is what I would say about that, yeah.
And, I think it's an interesting perspective to remember. It's not just a company that's preserving or protecting their own data from, let's say, a cyber criminal. The reality is many companies are entrusted with data and information from their customers. And so you're protecting, quote unquote, your data, but it's really your customers' data. So technology consumers really have changed. How have their expectations changed when it comes to data privacy and the efforts that organizations take to protect consumer data?
Yeah, the consumers, I would say, we talked about, younger people that have been using technology since they're very young today. So I would say consumers are getting more and more tech literate than they were before, or 5 years ago, or when I started, it was very, very different. So I would say their expectation around data privacy and data usage from a corporate standpoint have also increased in recent years. And they expect as a consumer, and I expect as a consumer, that the organization I will be working with or buying from will be transparent how they collect or store and leverage my information, and that they will respect the laws and regulations. There's more and more laws and regulations related to data privacy. And I think it's very important because it could cause a person a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the close of our time, but I'd love to get any final advice you have for an organization who's looking to do a better job to protect themselves and to protect themselves against cyber threats. What final parting advice would you have for these organizations?
I would say to really plan well. So put a plan in place. It doesn't have to be a 3-year plan, but put a plan in place, analyze what is the most important things to change and focus on that, and train your people on recognizing those threats and knowing what to do. And not trying to do everything at the same time, and maybe focusing on the most important ones at first and building on that on a continuous basis.
Lise, it's absolutely been a pleasure chatting with you and discussing such an important topic and just kind of diving into your depth of experience and getting your perspective on it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jude, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, both of you, for participating in the Heart Center Tech Summit today. Getting Heart Center Tech leaders together to talk about these topics, I think, is really important, and a lot of good information has come out of this. I just have one question kind of between the both, because you brought it up, Ted, as well, and Lise, it rolls into your software program where I got to see a demo of it, and it's gamified. So there's points and different things, and you brought that up as well, Ted. And I guess my question would be is, adding this game functionality to something that could be a little bit intimidating and scary to people, I'm just curious, you know, how many employees, Ted, of the city are like out there, and you know, are they going to go back to work soon, or are they going to be out there for a little while? And what is the city doing for education for its people that are working remotely now?
Yeah, so
Gamified.
from the city of Los Angeles perspective, we're about 48,000 employees all told, and about half of which the nature of the work they do is office related, and most of which are teleworking. So, you know, there's LAPD officers who are out in the streets, there's people whose job is to be a gardener or caretaker, but there's a lot of office workers like myself, and most of them are doing remote work. So when it comes to protection, especially on the gamification side, we have to make the training, and I'm sure Lise could speak to this very well, we have to make the training engaging. When people show up to work, it's work. But when the people get excited or enthusiastic about something, it's much more sticky. It retains better. One thing we do at the City of Los Angeles is we often will teach cybersecurity principles, but we try to teach it from a personal perspective, because we feel that if an employee goes home and they're cyber secure at home, they'll bring those cybersecurity practices to work also. So you'll often find us as an employer communicating to employees on how to be smart when it comes to Cyber Monday, how to be smart when it comes to online purchases. So we try to get them very cyber aware, because we know that if they're cyber aware at home, they'll often be cyber aware at work. But you know, I couldn't say anything, I couldn't speak any more highly of whatever it takes to get people enthusiastic and engaged on a topic like this.
Yeah, I did the demo, and when I had done that, and I'm glad the city's making initiatives. I did a phishing simulation, and I got caught on Microsoft.com because it had two R's and the little Microsoft. And you know, you got glasses, you're looking, there's pixels on the screen. It's impossible to tell sometimes, but now being aware of it and actually knowing spelling errors, these little gotcha moments, it's good to know. It's very good information. And I think that this, how does one go about like getting a demo, Lise, of this software? Because I think it's fantastic software.
So we have on our website, you could do a trial, and you ask for a demo, and then we'll send you access. It's very easy.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Ted. Thank you very much. Thanks for participating in the summit. Really appreciate your wisdom and your heart-centered leadership. Same with you, Lise. Thank you so much for your heart-centered leadership. Congratulations on your award. And thanks so much for tuning in today for the Heart-Centered Tech Summit. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye-bye.
for this award also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ted.